What is up, What is up, everyone? Mark here again for another episode of Pandemic Pantry. Just having so much fun making these videos. So glad so many of you are actually enjoying them and liking them and subscribing and all that. I've been posting these on both Facebook and YouTube, just so that more people can see them. But I hope that if you're watching this on Facebook, that you'll consider going over to youtube.com/markberm and subscribing to my channel. Yeah, I just hope you continue to enjoy the videos. I'm probably going to do these a little less frequently after this. It's a lot to do these every single day. But I've already got some ideas and some suggestions for recipes that people want to see, so I'm going to try and incorporate those in the next few weeks. Next week, looking at doing maybe either a chili or a beef stew. But tonight I wanted to do something different. So we did a dinner already. We did bread the other day. If you haven't seen either of those videos, you can catch the playlist up in the card. But tonight I wanted to do a dessert because mostly I want brownies. And we don't have any brownie mix, but we have stuff, so we're going to make brownies. You don't need to temper chocolate and melt stuff and all. It's just cocoa powder, but they'll be good fudgy brownies, I promise. So let's get started. All right, so we're gonna make brownies. First thing we need to do is grease an 8x8 baking pan. Now I keep a little nub of butter in the fridge, wrapped up in a little plastic sandwich bag for this purpose. Just makes it easier to always have a little butter available to grease a pan without making a mess. And just make sure if you do this that you fold it back over and twist it closed when you're done so that it doesn't get funky tastes from the fridge. Now we're also going to line this with parchment paper. You do not have to do this, but it's advisable. So what we did here was put the pan down on a square of parchment, traced around the bottom of it with a pencil. I cut out sort of a 45 degree on the corners just to avoid the rounded edges, and then folded it up on the lines, pencil side down, because you don't want that facing your brownies. And we're gonna just drop that in here. And we can set this aside for a moment. All right, now we need the ingredients for brownies. All right, ingredients. So we have half a cup of all-purpose flour. We have a half a cup of cocoa powder. I'm using Hershey's Special Dark cocoa powder because it's what I have, but I also think it'll probably work really well. We have 1/4 teaspoon of salt. We have 1 1/8 cups of sugar. We're going to need a tablespoon of oil, 8 tablespoons or 1 whole stick of butter, 2 eggs, and a teaspoon of vanilla. So we're going to start by combining the flour, the cocoa powder, and the salt. And just kind of whisk this together a little bit to kind of combine them so there's no clumps of flour and no clumps of cocoa. And we will put that aside. Meanwhile, the sugar, about a tablespoon of oil, but first we're going to melt the butter. So over to the microwave. Okay, we're going to put about a tablespoon of oil in with the butter. And I'm not measuring the oil, I'm just trying to get it about right. And that's going to go in the bowl with our sugar. Now we want to whisk this together until it's really well combined and it lightens up a little bit. Should take just about a minute. Okay. Now we want to add our vanilla and the eggs. Always crack your eggs on a flat surface. If you crack your egg on the edge of a bowl, the edge is just going to drive right up into the shell like a knife and push little pieces in there and makes a mess. I like to break my eggs into a separate bowl or container before I put it in the recipe, just in case you never know you're going to get a bad one, or if you're going to get pieces of shell dropped in there, it's easier to deal with it in a bowl than it is when it's in with all of the rest of your ingredients. So now I'm going to just mix this really well, again, until it lightens a little bit and everything is really well incorporated. Okay, now we want to slowly add in our cocoa powder, flour and salt mixture, and we don't want to, you don't want to, well, you might, depending on how much you mix and combine this batter. It'll determine what type of brownies you get. The little bit of oil that goes in here is what helps make them, moist and chewy, kind of fudgy brownies. But if we cook these a little longer and we mixed them a little bit longer until it was really consistent batter, then they would probably turn out more cakey. But we're going to mix this until it just comes together into a batter. We're not going to be too concerned. Whoops. With getting it perfect. It's okay for it to be a little bit of a messy batter. All right, I think we're good. And you just want to do the best you can to spread this out. As evenly as you can. It's going to be pretty thin to begin with. I'm gonna get all that brownie goodness in there. All right. So now this is going to go into a 350 degree oven for 20-25 minutes. Again, the lower end of that, you'll get chewier brownies. The higher end, you'll get cakier brownies. And it could even go a little bit longer if you really like cakey brownies. But we're going to go for more chewy. So we're going to put these in and check it in about 20 minutes. All right, I think it's time. Now, we could wait like an hour for these to cool, but I want brownies tonight. So I have a larger pan with some ice and water in it, and we're gonna just put one pan in the other. And of course, it just came out of a 350-degree oven, so it's gonna melt through some of the ice there. But we're gonna give this, I don't know, 10 minutes to cool, and we'll come back and cut into them. All right, we're back, and it is time to cut some brownies. So one thing I wanted to point out before we continue is that shocking the brownies in ice water does indeed cool them very quickly, but it also stops carryover heat, carryover cooking. So whenever you take something out of a hot oven that's big or dense, you know, like brownies, it's got a lot of heat in it, and it's going to continue to cook from that heat while, you know, before it starts to cool and while it's cooling. When you cool something really quickly, like we did, we stopped it from cooking a little bit more. So, you know, I kind of lied when I said I took these out at 20 minutes. I took them out at 25 minutes because I knew that I was going to shock them in ice. And that would get me about the same chewiness that I would get if I'd let them cool naturally, but cooked them for 20 minutes. So, a lot of that technical's out of the way. We're going to cut these into 16 pieces and serve them up. And I'll have some pictures too, because I know it's kind of hard to see in the video. Always tricky, but you know what? If you mess with the paper, I don't know how that looks, but like I said, we'll have some pictures in the final video. These did cool, but they are not fully cooled, so, you know, we're still dealing with gooey, warm brownies here, if nothing else. So there you go, brownies. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, stay tuned for the next one.